Hello and welcome to All Villa No Filler, a podcast all about Aston Villa, the world's greatest football team. As ever, please remember to subscribe to the show, follow us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Well, the Tractor Boys gave Villa a real test as Unai Emery's side drew 2-2 with Ipswich. We'll get to that in a moment. And later in the show, Frankie cooks up yet another of his infamous spicy questions. But first things first, Frankie, I think we need to start by talking about our awards nomination, don't we?
Can you believe it? Can you
I can't believe it. It's simply unbelievable.
walking the red carpet at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where it's
It
going to
doesn't
be?
sound like us, I'll be honest, Frankie. Does that
No,
sound like us?
it doesn't. It really doesn't. No, I think So we've been nominated for Best Podcast Premier League by the Football Content Awards. It's an absolutely incredible honor. And just an amazing feeling, given the fact we've been working on the show for a few years now, building it, and to get just a nomination is just amazing, particularly when you see who we're up against as well are in the awards list, and loads of podcasts that haven't been nominated as well, so basically it's half fans voting, half judge voting. So whoever is listening to this or whoever's watching it, please vote for us. I will leave the link in the comments section on YouTube and in the description online for audio listeners on Spotify and all that. And also, it's on the Football Content Awards website. So you can go on there and you can vote for us. And also give Max Stokes give him a vote as well for Villa on Tour. He's in another category as well. So get behind all the Villa family. And George, have you ever won an award?
Have I ever won an award? I won an award for courtesy at secondary school, Frankie,
Oh,
for being courteous. They gave me a certificate, and it said for being the most courteous boy in year 8. So I
ah,
hope my courteous nature shines through on this podcast.
that absolutely
Um,
rings true. That also sounds like it could mean most bullied kid in the year.
Well, you know what would follow that up is I also won an award for mime presentation at secondary school.
Oh,
So
right.
yes, I was the most bullied boy in the year.
Yeah. You were just miming that you had friends, right?
That's right.
Yeah, yeah,
Literally arms
walking
right there.
around.
Here they are, my
Yeah.
mates.
Um,
Yes,
playing Tig with invisible people,
yeah,
or tag as they call it in America.
that's right.
But yeah, I think my award was I won the prestigious Egg and Spoon race at St Augustine School in the year
Wow.
1992, and the reason I won it is because who was next to me and in the lead got to the finish line and turned around. For some reason, he didn't realize he had to cross over, so I managed to clamber to victory. It was a proper like the balance I held that egg in that spoon was like I don't think St. Augustine's seen anything since.
Was it like sort of the Morgan Rogers of the egg and spoon world in terms of your balance and your composure?
Oh, it had to be. It had to be. If they had full HD TV back then, they'd have been, who is this kid? This is unbelievable. So yeah, that was my big award. So if you are listening and you want me and George to add to our best mime, most courteous, and egg and spoon race winning awards, please do vote for us at the Football
Please.
Content Awards. We've had 30 years of hurt, and now we're ready. Now we're ready for our big prize.
Yeah, I think this would go a little bit higher than those two, wouldn't it? Or those three. So yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be great. Also, if you don't, you are a Birmingham City fan. I'm sorry, I don't
yeah,
make the rules.
yeah.
It just is what it is. If you don't
It's
vote for
true.
us, you support the Blue Noses.
Yeah,
Anyway, enough of the Blue Noses. That's enough of that. Let's
yeah.
talk about Aston Villa. It was a test, as I said earlier, Frankie, a real tricky one against Ipswich. I remember speaking to you either on the last show, or to you privately, so it's probably not recorded, so no one believes me. But I do remember saying that I thought Ipswich would present a test. I was a little bit concerned about it, and so it proved to pass, Frankie.
Yeah, it's extremely rare that I come out of Unai Emery era Aston Villa games annoyed at performances, and I was really annoyed.
Mm.
Quite unusual. I think what annoyed me was there's a very I've said this line a lot, really, probably ad nauseum. Probably people just saying it to themselves, repeating it if they've listened to this podcast enough, just like, oh God, looking off 1,000 yard stairs, repeating it. But there's a fine line between being composed and casual, and I think at times Villa pass into casual. And I think today within the first 5 minutes, I was pretty annoyed because I just felt went into the game with a lack of intensity. It didn't feel like we were alert, alive to things. We were making mistakes in very weird parts of the pitch when under no pressure sometimes. Um, would get to the final third, cut back, not do anything. The whole second half, I think there was about a 20-25 minute spell where I remember Villa being very much on top possession wise, but I can't remember a single thing we did in the final third in the second half. Like, I can't remember a single thing. And I said in the preview show as well that I thought Leif Davis was going to be the Ipswich man to watch. And I think in the first half, he largely was actually. He really was getting forward. He was causing us quite a few problems. And I think what was frustrating was that Villa just weren't using Leon Bailey, or Leon Bailey wasn't getting into the game enough. And the one occasion he actually did and went at Leif Davis, he puts in a great ball and Ollie Watkins scores. So it's great that Villa can still score goals, of course. But the fact that we keep conceding goals over and over and over again, and pretty much all of them are sloppy. The Everton goal we conceded to go 1-0 down with Dwight McNeil tackling Onana, sloppy. Today, Ezri Konsa passes it straight to an Ipswich player, and they had about 3 chances to get the ball clear. So he just passes it straight to him. Onana's not alert to cutting off the pass back to Liam Delap, sloppy. And then the second goal, Konsa comes forward, passes it straight to an Ipswich player, loads of space behind him that Liam Delap's specialty is sprinting into space. And Diego Carlos, I mean, gee whizzlers. I've not been his fan. I've not been his fan for a while now, and that right back, right centre back area really is causing me it's causing me sleepless nights, George.
Yeah, I can tell the bags under your eyes as you've
Yeah,
just been sort of being haunted by our lack of support in that area. It's tough, isn't it? It's hard. We've talked at length about Diego Carlos and how we everyone knows there's a mistake in him, and obviously designs were in place, as we've said before, to have him leave the club and join another club, but he is still with us. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because what do you do? How do you solve a problem like, our right back? It's really tough, isn't it? Bogard, when he's featured, he's looked uncertain at times, and I don't think right back is even his position.
no,
He
it's
is
not.
really a centre back. I know he's a young player and can be moulded a little bit like Konsa in terms of playing there. But even Konsa's not right back. Konsa is a centre back. That is
Yeah,
his position.
and we're
Uh,
missing out big time with him not being a centre back and
yeah,
having Diego Carlos there. He's not as good as him.
and I do feel like Konsa is always looking over his back to see what Carlos is doing. I think he's almost playing both those roles. He's
Mm.
sort of doesn't know whether he has to drop in to be the centre back to cover for Carlos or then operate as a right back. So he's sort of torn between the two roles, which means that he doesn't really do either particularly well. Um, and yeah, Cash is still obviously coming back to fitness. I mean, it's great that obviously Tyrone Mings is now pretty much ready to go after the international break. So the game against Fulham, he could well play a part in. But it doesn't all go well when we've got Bayern Munich who just score goals for fun in the Bundesliga at the moment,
No.
up next at Villa Park. So yeah, a little bit concerned about that after watching today's performance. But then again, I don't know how much of Wednesday night affected the players. And you'd like to think they're professional players. They're managed by Unai Emery, one of the greatest managers, tacticians in European or world football. He will be, I'm sure, drilling into them that Bayern Munich is next week, Ipswich, Portman Road is today. Focus on that. I want you to give everything. But I wonder how much of it was like, well, they've seen what happened to John McGinn getting injured out of the Bayern Munich game. Um, you know, how many of it is that they don't want to apply that intensity because they're worried about picking up a knock and not featuring in what was probably the biggest game for Villa in years. So I don't know. I like to think that wasn't an issue. Maybe Ipswich surprised us. They are the unknown entity of the promoted clubs. Obviously, they've come up from League One and the Championship, whereas Southampton and Leicester, much more familiar rivals in the Premier League. Going to Portman Road is something Villa haven't done in years. So unfamiliar pitch, unfamiliar sort of vibe. It's the other side of the country. I don't know. I'm obviously making a lot of excuses for our players because it was a really disappointing performance all round. And Yeah, at the end of it, I was actually glad to take the point because I was concerned that Ipswich actually they were
They
in
look
the ascendancy
they
coming
looked the more
into the
likely, didn't
fixtures.
they?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
particularly towards the very end when there was a couple of goalmouth scrambles, and it just wasn't an Unai Emery Aston Villa. Emery
Mm,
always talks about controlling games and retaining
no control.
possession, calm, and all the rest of it. He's always screaming at his players to be calm, and that wasn't a calm performance. It was nervous, and it was edgy, and it was chaotic, and it yeah, wasn't a good day at the office. But we take a point. We take a point.
Yeah,
That is a positive. Villa teams of old would have lost that game. We didn't. And there will be teams that will struggle at Ipswich. They
yeah.
they do look like a decent side, very well coached by McKenna. So yeah, take the point, move on, and yeah, lots of lessons to learn from it though.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with all that. I think just the problem is the conceding the goals.
Yeah.
We're conceding way too many at the moment, and I guess one performance it slightly reminded me of last season. This is what a bloody nerd I am that I can remember these things. Is that when we played Bournemouth away last season and drew 2-2,
Hmm.
and I remember in that game it was like we were just couldn't get going at all really, and somehow, Ollie Watkins scores a fantastic header to equalise late on. We just sort of got through. We got through it with a point, and it was like, don't know how we've done that, but we did, and it's similar-ish today in a way. Um, and then, after that Bournemouth game, we then beat City 3 days later and then beat Arsenal 3 days after that. So,
Yeah.
what that means is we're going to go and beat Bayern Munich and, leave Harry Kane in tears on Wednesday night. And then on Sunday, Eric, Ruud van Nistelrooy's caretaker manager, probably, lining up his United charges. So, yeah, we look, sometimes we just, I do wonder if there was a bit of it today where it was like, they were sort of partly thinking we can just outplay Ipswich and we can retain the ball and tire them out and win without having to like really go 100% at it. But in the defensively we're not strong enough to do that really at the
No.
moment. And in the Premier League, you will just literally get punished if you don't. If you make one mistake, and we made way too many of them today, basically. And so yeah, I think it was a good sign for Ipswich. I think they look a team that are going to put up a good fight to stay up.
Mm.
Actually, they've got something about them, but I'm not convinced Sam Morsy should have been on the pitch.
Oh God, no, absolutely not.
I thought
Absolutely not.
it's very rare that I moan about referees because I just can't be arsed with it, but I thought he was rubbish. I thought it was a really bad performance. I thought he was pernickety. I thought he was inconsistent, and Morsy. I mean, if the rake down the back of Tielemans isn't a second yellow, then the tackle on Philogene was definitely a second yellow. It just
Yeah.
was.
And it was
Couldn't have
and it
gone.
was it was clear. I know when we say things like, oh, when you see it on a replay and it's slowed down, then it makes everything look very obvious. But I saw that in real time and I was like, what? What?
Yeah, he's got to go. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know that maybe that's just the benefit of when you're playing at home, as the Ipswich side were obviously today, that then crowds can influence refereeing decisions in the moment. I don't know what it was. But yeah, that was a very poor decision. I mean, speaking of Philogene, I've seen that, he's got a bit of a sort of kicking online. I think that's unfortunate, really. I think, he's still a young player. He's very much in and out of the team, isn't he? Of course, because of the form of Bailey and then McGinn before him. He's still kind of waiting for his chance. And I think it was a difficult game for him to come into. I just think,
Mm.
Ipswich were playing well. As I said, they were a well-coached side. They had the home crowd behind them. And I think it's a difficult time to play Ipswich because it's still the early stages of the season. What is this, match week 5, 6?
Mm.
So, whenever they have home games this early in the season, the crowd are really going to be up for it. They're unbeaten in the last 3 games before playing us.
Four now.
They've
Yeah.
got 4 now, obviously including us now, and got a good draw at Brighton. So as you say, they're a team that will go up and compete against a lot of other teams in the league. I think they could be
Mm.
one of those dark horses that could be quite safe this season. They were impressive. Delap's a player of note. Or he obviously came through the Man City
Yeah, he's
academy in
good.
the same way that Rodgers did, and he proved his quality today. So yeah, I think obviously I'm speaking to you now. We're speaking to each other a few hours after the game finished. So I think a lot of those very emotive feelings have probably dissipated. Well, they have, at least for me. So I can kind of look back at it and think, you know what, tough day at the office. It happens. we saw Man City draw this weekend. Arsenal were lucky to get a win against Leicester at home when everyone thought they would, demolish them. So Premier League's a really tough league, obviously. So we have to get up for it for Bayern Munich. That won't take much, I'm sure. So we can sort of pick up that point and move on.
Yeah, I think so. Trying to think if there's any other talking points from the game. That's kind of it,
What what
really,
what
isn't it?
what did you think of Philogene performance, and sort of where do you see him fitting in for the rest of the season?
Yeah, Philogene wasn't very good today. I don't think he really got anything right actually when he came on. But
No.
the thing is, like, he's extremely new to the Villa first team, new to the Premier League, and has barely played. He's been injured, so we've got to cut the guy some slack really because it is going to be a bedding in process and going to be, take time to build his confidence and build his belief that he belongs here, basically. And no, look, I think he's a really talented player. He showed it last season. I think he showed it a few times in pre-season as well. So I think it will come together for him. It's just today was just not a good day for him. Just a bad day as a winger, and lots of wingers had bad performances. And if you look back at Leon Bailey, we'd written him off. We'd never have had the amazing season he had last season, and so yeah, no worries at all. I just think he's just a young player, and he's just going to gradually improve, and hopefully become a really important player for Villa. Actually, one thing I would mention as well, though, substitution wise, it's
Mm,
one of the rare days I'm not sure Emery got it right. I kind of thought I wondered if Matson could have been on earlier. I actually wondered why. I actually thought he should have started because I think should be balancing up the minutes with these players.
mm.
Um, God, you could even stick him at right back and just see what happens with Matson if you want, like genuinely. But then, but yeah, when Dia came on, if you ignore the hilariously bad free kick he ballooned over the bar to start off
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
I think if you ignore that, he I think he actually looked quite good, and I think he was trying to make things happen.
Mm,
And that was something no one was doing pretty much all bloody game in the final third. And he was really trying. And there were two balls he made that got cut out last second,
yeah.
and Duran could have got through. So
Mm,
if he'd been on just an extra 10 minutes, maybe, I think Barkley could have been on earlier as well, just to
yeah,
add a bit more
yeah.
control. I just feel like the subs weren't brilliantly timed today. And the Duran Watkins partnership, I watched them play together against West Ham last season, and it didn't work. So today I don't think it really worked at all either. So, but again, that's something that can probably evolve over time, and maybe they'll work each other out and become the next York and Cole. But until then, it's just a bit of a work in progress. But yeah, it could, by the end of this season, we could look back on a draw at Portman Road and go, actually, a lot of teams dropped points there. Maybe a Newcastle, Spurs, United, whoever, maybe go there and draw or lose.
Yeah.
But I think for us, we have to look at it as a real missed opportunity because hyper competitive to get into the top four this season. We want to do it again, and you know, you just if you go away from home and go to Ipswich and just play as badly as we did and defend and continue to concede goals like we are doing, it's just going to cost us in the long term. If you watched the Mr. McMahon documentary on Netflix, you'll see plenty of brawling and other various bizarre behavior, but nothing compared to what might kick off here in the spicy question. George, basically, we've got Bayern Munich this week, one of the biggest games in years. Can Aston Villa beat Bayern Munich?
Um, it'll be a bit of a test, Frankie, for sure. I mean, they are a German superpower, of course. I know last season in the Bundesliga, Bayer Leverkusen were the side, weren't they? I mean, they're just absolutely incredible season for them. And then everybody kind of talked about the curse of Harry Kane, the fact that he hasn't won any sort of silverware, despite being an absolutely brilliant striker, arguably one of the best strikers in Europe. And wins nothing at Spurs. Bayern have won everything until he arrives, and then the first season he arrives, they don't win the league. But they've started this season really, really well. Top of the league, where they've sort of, where they sort of feel they belong in brilliant form. I think they've won um, four of their opening five games. They drew against Bayer Leverkusen in their most recent game yesterday. Harry Kane did pick up a knock
Mm.
in that game, Frankie.
Mm.
So, I think
He's nervous about Wednesday night. He's pulling out.
he's pulling
He's
out. He's
pulling out, and
nervous.
he doesn't want to go up against Diego Carlos.
Carlos, I was about to say, yeah, he knows he's coming off second best in that battle. So,
Yeah,
yeah, so I think the club say the initial diagnosis is positive, that they think that he will play against Villa, but in terms of how he'll feature and in what capacity, I don't know. But obviously, if he's not playing, that gives us a little bit of a boost. But then, I mean, they've just got so many stars, haven't they? Really, they've got Upamecano in defence. They've got Gnabry and Musiala and Elise started the season really well for
yeah,
Bayern, who obviously Villa know a lot about. So Neuer's still, you know, carrying on in goal. So it's going to be really difficult. But you just like to think, with the atmosphere, with the start that we've made in the league so far, yes, obviously today's result wasn't what we wanted, but we're still 2 points off top.
yeah,
It has been a really good start to the season. Just that one defeat against Arsenal, a game that we probably should have got something from. Arsenal obviously in the Champions League themselves and rivaling Man City for the title, of course. So we've proven that we can compete with some top teams in the Premier League at least. So yeah, why not? I mean, in terms of fitness issues, I think it's only McGinn still that's injured.
Cash as well.
And Cash, and obviously the long-term injuries, obviously to Cash and Mings and Kamara. But we've been dealing without those players for a while now, so we know that they're not ready. But beyond that, we've still got a very strong team that we can put out against Bayern Munich. Positive from today was obviously Watkins scoring again. He's back in form and scoring goals, which is what you want. So he'll be sharp and ready for Bayern on Wednesday. Um, we've got obviously Duran is always this incredible talent off the bench that we could bring on. And I don't know. I think it's the context of it. I think playing Bayern Munich, the fact it comes so short soon after Gary Shaw's death and what he did against Bayern Munich in '82 and evening kickoff against Bayern Munich. I think we got a real chance. I really do. And I think if Kane isn't fit, he doesn't make it, or if he is playing and he's at 70%, which is still a dangerous version of Harry Kane, then you never know we've got a chance. The only thing that does worry me, of course, is our defense and who plays on Wednesday, because if it's the same back four that we put out today, I think we I think we could be in trouble. And I actually do wonder whether Maatsen will start, because obviously he's facing an opposition he'll know about, having played for Borussia Dortmund last season and doing so well and getting to the final of the Champions League with them. Obviously, he's experienced playing in that competition too. I wonder if he'll start. Um, and then it's God knows who play we play at right back. I'm up for a kickabout. If Emery's listening to this, stick me
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I'm a very courteous right back though. I don't.
Yeah.
I'll probably give Serge Gnabry a bit too much time on the
Yeah.
ball. After you. No, I
You're
insist.
you're mime marking.
Yeah,
Mime
just,
pretend.
just sort of. There he goes. There he
Yeah.
goes again. He's
Yeah.
off.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah. It's I mean, Martinez and Neuer must be two of the most alpha, big dick energy people who've ever walked the face of the earth. Like they're kind of like. I mean, do we have any ounce of that alpha
of,
energy
of
between
of
us?
BDE.
Are we the Neuer
I
and
don't think we
Martinez?
have much of that. I mean, I
No.
don't know. Just wait for our acceptance speech at the Football Content Award. I might grab it and do a Martinez with it
Yeah.
on stage
Yeah. Yeah.
if we're lucky enough to win. So
You,
yeah, I don't know.
you're the you're the sort of Martinez and on the Neuer, the two total alphas. Although I feel like Martinez is the type of person. Martinez and Neuer are two people who win World Cups. We're people who win most courteous awards and egg and spoon races. So yeah, and even
There are
then
levels.
it was
There are levels to this.
quite fortuitous how I won that egg and spoon race. But yeah, I think I just have a quick look at Bayern's recent results. Beat Holstein Kiel 6-1. Beat Dynamo Zagreb 9-2. Beat
Yeah.
Werder Bremen away 5-0. And drew Bayer Leverkusen. So
They haven't. Well, in that case, they haven't really played
nothing
the
to worry
best.
about.
They haven't come against Villa, have they? Let's put it
Nothing
that
to
way.
worry about there.
Yeah, we're fine. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Worried about Bayern Munich?
Do you know who I think is the biggest miss for Villa? I think John McGinn. I think if you think of that Arsenal game, how Villa's defensive approach was actually really quite excellent and really stopped Arsenal from playing properly. And if we'd taken our bloody chances, we could have won that game.
Mm.
I think we're going to try and do something similar to Bayern. I think we're going to try and play. I feel like we'll be the more defensive side and maybe invite a bit more pressure than usual. Just to try and cut off their pass lanes and then hit them on the break because guess what? They play a very high line. And there have been in recent years quite a lot of examples of Bayern Munich in the Champions League, including against Emery's sides, Villarreal, where they've been pressing and pressing and pressing, and then they just get caught. I remember Anton Griezmann doing it with Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid doing it to him a few years ago. So it is something we can do, and I think we have the players to cause them problems in that
Well, with
way.
with the likes of Bailey now, because obviously Bailey and McGinn, although they play in the same position, they're two very different players. I think what
Mhm.
McGinn offers is much more solidity
Yeah,
across the pitch. You know, if we are struggling defensively, then he can operate in a much more defensive way,
yeah,
which Bailey really, that's not really his game, obviously, at all. So
no,
if I think if we do play in a more sort of attacking style, that will benefit the likes of kind of, yeah, Bailey and Ramsey and stuff to sort of like, take the ball on the break. So if
yeah.
that is the way that we play, then maybe that can be an effective way of neutralizing Bayern.
Yeah, and I think we will take it to them. I just think there will be spells in the game where they're going to obviously be more dominant.
Hmm.
I mean, I look at some of their players and think, overrated, overhyped, rubbish. No, they're not. No, Jamal Musiala is truly one of the best players on the planet.
Hmm.
Serge Gnabry, West Brom's own. He's uh, obviously high quality as well. And I think the thing that's going to be the biggest surprise, I think, for those of us in the stadium will just be the speed at which they play. I think it will be their. I just think there's something about playing a European heavyweight that just feels different when you do it in the Premier League, when you play the likes of City and Arsenal. I feel like it would be it's an occasion for them as well. And I just
Hmm.
think it'll be the speed of their pass, the speed of their press, just everything about it will be like, wow, okay.
You know what I'm
That's
not looking
it.
forward to?
So,
Our whatever right back we put out coming up against Alfonso Davis.
yeah, yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's
That,
that I'm not looking forward to that.
that right hand side for Villa is it tough day that could be. Costa Delkovic is right there, and we're not playing him at the moment.
No.
I think we should be giving him some minutes here and there. But who am
Well,
I? I'm not very rare of me to disagree with anything with Professor Unai. Professor Unai sees him every single day, so he obviously knows far better than anybody else in the world. But I just think Nedeljkovic is more of a right back than I would prefer to see Constant centre back and Nedeljkovic a right back. I just would rather than
yeah.
Carlos playing. But when it comes to the Bayern Munich game, I do veer towards thinking it maybe just should be Carlos and Constant for the experience factor, even though Carlos is just playing really badly at the moment. Oh God, yeah. Oh, I just getting a little bit worried thinking about it. But yeah, I think overall, Vance Company doesn't have much European experience. I know they absolutely destroyed Dynamo Zagreb 9-2, but look, Unai Emery does have a lot of that experience. The Bayern players obviously do have the experience, but I don't know, maybe Emery can cook up something that surprises Bayern and forces them not to play in their usual rhythm and maybe just leads to them getting caught out and gets beaten. Leverkusen showed what you can do. They had 30% possession against Bayern away yesterday, got the draw. Leverkusen are a quality side, obviously, but Aston Villa can look at that and think, well, Leverkusen did it. Aston Villa can also do it as well at Villa Park on a Wednesday night. So excited for it. Like, really,
Yeah.
really excited.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think whatever happens, it's obviously it'll be a really intriguing game because, as you say, in terms of our on pitch experience, there isn't tons of Champions League appearances out there, but obviously off the field with Emery and his coaching staff, there is. And we know what Emery can do with a unfancy team. Obviously, took Villarreal to the semi-finals of the Champions League a couple of years back. So I'm sure he'll have something cooked up, as you say. But yeah, as you say, Frankie, I'm just so excited about it. I think it's just going to be a moment where you sit down and you watch it, you think, crikey, here we are, Champions League, Aston Villa. Feels a long way away from literally any feeling I've had before
When we went to
as
watch
a Villa fan.
Burton Albion together a couple of years ago at Villa Park, it's a
Yeah,
long way
yeah.
from that.
It's a long way from that. It is. It is. And yeah, to be seen as a side that people fear playing. I've never really known it
Mm,
to be like that. I mean, obviously Bayern won't see it that way, but for example, like Ipswich fans today, I've spoken. One of my mates is an Ipswich fan, and he was a bit worried about how today would turn out because they look at our team and think, yeah, they're a quality outfit, and we are. It's weird as Villa fans to sort of wrap our heads around it. So I think we have to sort of. It's one of those games where you'll watch them come out and you'll hear the anthem at Villa Park. It'll be packed out. You'll see all the fireworks and pyrotechnics and just think, crikey, like we've come such a long way, and it's an amazing experience and a privilege to see us in the Champions League because
yeah.
so many people aren't around to see Villa play in that competition. It's been obviously so long since we were last in it, and yeah, it'll feel like we're there. We've arrived once that game kicks off.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, I think it's so. Unai Emery signed this contract to 2029, right? Is dedicated to Aston Villa for the long haul. I feel like we're very early in the Unai Emery
Yeah,
process.
yeah,
Um, you
absolutely.
know,
Which is why the right back situation doesn't bother me too much in the long run because we can't do it. I said this before. We can't do everything in one window. I know
yeah,
we wanted a right back. We tried to sign Truder and other players. It didn't happen this window, so we just have to accept this is where we are at the moment. And in January, summer, in the seasons to come, while he's here, we will improve. Obviously.
yeah, exactly. And part of it as well is like learning lessons, gaining experience, and playing Bayern Munich in the Champions League is a massive, massive learning experience for all these players. And it's also a moment of like, right, okay, in future they can go, I've played at that level for Aston Villa. This is the level we can be at. This is who we are. And it's I think it can help us in the long haul. And even if it's a look, if we get a win, fantastic. If it's a draw, brilliant. If we lose and maybe lose badly, Bayern Munich are the type of team who can do that to teams, 3-0s, 4-0s, everywhere they go. So, that can happen, but it's not something to be all, meltdown and Emery out and all that sort of stuff, because it will be literally a case of like, this is part of the process. This is part of the learning process. And you take things like that and you go, that happens. If it's a win, lose, or draw, and we learn from it, and then we move on to play Manchester United, have 30 chances and lose 2-1. So please, God, no. I desperately, desperately want to beat Man United. I just, oh,
Yeah, I know it's a hell of a week. Bayern Munich, then Manchester United. I mean, it's
we have to
yeah,
beat them. We have to beat United. Like, come on. We
yeah.
can't like have such a horrendous record against them. That has to change. Like, come on.
I know, I know, I know. Well, let's take on still take on Bayern Munich first before we start thinking about Man United. Okay, well, let's leave things there. Lots of things to think about ahead of what is going to be a really busy week for Aston Villa. Thank you everybody for listening. I've been your host, George Zielinski. Frankie, see you later.
See you later. And please vote for us in the best podcast Premier League at the Football Content Awards. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa, please do. Otherwise, you support Birmingham City.
Yeah.
It's Auf Wiedersehen from me too. I think that's how they say it in Germany. We'll be back again soon, probably to cover the Bayern Munich game. But until then, come on, Super Aston Villa.